Drake in the hiring process? How involved were guys like Coach Galloway, Coach Lilly, the other offensive coaches in that process?
I actually had them involved, but you can get too many people involved. So I could tell they all have different opinions. So I cut them out, did it myself.
What are some of these things you specifically wanted? Sorry about that, Ross. What are some of the things you specifically wanted Chip to be able to come and teach Drake about the game that you liked that Chip knew?
Fundamentals. Drake wants somebody to work with him on his footwork because he's such a great player. He can throw off balance and awkward that most people can't do. But when he sets his feet, he's so accurate. So I think that would be one of the biggest things. And then we've got to get back to being physical. This is a physical game, and you can't just throw it all the time. And I think when we could throw it, we won the games. And when people knew we weren't going to run it enough to beat them, Georgia Tech, we got unlucky. We had the 75-yard run. They called it back. But we had bigger runs than we had consistent runs. And we had too many 2nd and 12s. And that was one of the reasons we had to be so aggressive. And the other thing, running the ball will help our defense better. It'll keep them off the field as much. And so all of those things played into these two guys being the perfect fit for this place at this time.
The timeline of hiring Randy and Chip. Randy was announced the day before. Did you hire one before the other? Was Chip hired before Randy, or how did that go with the announcement? Because they were kind of expected the other way around, I guess.
Yes, it's a good question. I knew I was going to hire both of them. I didn't care which one announced first. Sometimes you've got to, Chip's got to get with Gus and visit, so it's not going. I can't coach. He's out recruiting. I can't get him till in the morning. Randy didn't have a coach because they had let Seth go, so he could go. He just tell him. And I always want to be very, very respectful that I do it right. I call the head coach. They have time to tell the assistant coaches, the head coach, and the players on their team before they read it. So me knowing I was going to hire both of those, the timing didn't matter at all. It didn't make any difference.
And was Chip consulted on Randy, or was it like you wanted to hire both, you just knew they knew each other?
Yeah, I usually it'd be like us talking and talking to Chip and Randy. Talk to me about who you know, who influences your life, and who are you really like out there that you'd love to work with, and that's kind of where it goes with both of them. And then after I'd had great conversations with Randy, I said, Chip, Randy says that you all know each other, and he said, oh my gosh, Randy's the best, man. He is a great line coach. I'd love to work with him, and without me even asking. So it's just part of that conversation.
Going back to
you mentioned Drake's involvement in the process. What exactly did that look like? And in your career, how unique of a situation is that to involve a current player in the process?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever done it before. I obviously talked to Sam because he was a recruit when I was hiring Phil. But I actually just told Drake, I gave Coach Lindsey his number, gave Drake his number, and I said, you all talk. I don't want to be on the phone. I don't want to be involved with the conversation. And then I wanted Chip to come back and tell me how it went with Drake. And I wanted Drake to come back and tell me how it went with Chip. And that's what they did. And then if Drake had said, Coach, I trust you. Man, I know you're going to hire who's best. I don't know. I didn't feel as comfortable. Then I probably wouldn't have hired him.
How much of a unique situation is that based on, how much of that is NIL driven? How much of that is just the fact that Drake has had the season he's had, has had the success he's had, has the relationship with Carolina as a program?
Yeah, none of it is NIL driven. I want to win. If Drake had wanted to take the money and leave, I would have understood completely. Wouldn't have liked it, would have hurt our program, but he turned down a whole lot of money to stay here. So I couldn't have blamed him if he wanted to take it. So, and the people that want to be negative, that are going to sit here and try to figure out of this 45 minutes what they really hate, will say, he let some kid hire the coach. That's not at all what happened. I let Drake have a voice to me like I let Coach Galloway and Coach Porter and Coach Lilly have a voice, and then I make my own decision. Pat Suddas worked with Chip at Auburn when he was with Gus in 2017. Gene Chizik never worked with Chip. I didn't talk to any of the defensive coaches about any of the hiring. I probably should have. I probably should have asked them if they have line coaches or coordinators they like, but I just kept it in that one room. And really after Drake asked me, you tell me, there were two guys I've seriously talked to, and Drake said, you tell me, what do you think? He thought it was unique that these hiring is so much different. It's so much bigger and so much more involved than hiring a guy. Everybody, I like this guy. Well, you don't even know him. What's his personality like? Does it fit with our guys? Does it fit in the room? Does it fit with our philosophy? Is his ego so big, he's not going to talk to anybody else? And then Coach Larry Porter had worked with Coach Lindsey at Auburn as well. So I had some guys that had been in a room with him, and I checked out what I'd heard from other people with the guys that worked with him. And then Ken Drake was wonderful. He said, God, you got a hard job, man. I said, yeah, I do. Morgan, you got a hard job too, so we're trying to make yours easier.
To get a little more clarity, it was just conversations, or was there maybe like some video stuff that you sent Drake that he looked at so he'd get an idea of what Chip Lindsey's vision is so he could see it on the field?
I don't know. I think Pat watched some video maybe with Drake, but this year you couldn't watch Central Florida because Chip wasn't calling plays. So that wouldn't be fair to do that. So I think it was more personality. All these guys know how to coach. It's not that. It's who fits who you are, who has the relationships that they can have with the people that you're working with, and how does it work? That's what it is. Young lady, you asked me a question. I rudely was talking.
Sorry. I just wanted to ask, when's the first time that you were able to actually sit down with Chip and Randy together, and what that conversation was like?
It was actually this morning, because I interviewed both of them on Zoom, which is different than it used to be. You used to bring them in and take time. You don't have time anymore. I got recruits. I got portal guys. I got their coaches need to know. So I had I had two long conversations with Chip. I had a long conversation with Randy. I'd known of Randy a lot more just because I'd coached against him, and they ran the ball so well everywhere he's been. But this morning was the first time I saw them hug each other. Randy, to show you how these assistant coaches work so hard, Randy is through with his bowl game Saturday night, probably at 1 o'clock here. He's playing Boise and Frisco, and then they get beat 35-32. He's seeing these kids for the last time ever, and then he gets in his car, he drives back to Denton, he gets on a plane, he flies in here and gets in here last night at 10:30. I see him this morning at 7, and then he goes to orientation from 8 to 10, and then he's out there at practice, and I just had lunch with him. And I saw he and Chip spent a lot of time at practice together looking at personnel, and Chip was able to call him yesterday and say, here, ooh, I like this, and this looks good, and we got to fix this, and so it's just fun to watch all these guys work together.
It's all that.
Mike, you sort of went there, like preparing for the bowl game. I think folks get lost in all of else, and you've got a bowl game to play. Sort of elaborate more on their role in the next couple of weeks or this week getting ready for the bowl game. You said they're not going to coach, but what are they doing?
Yeah, they will not do anything. They will learn the offense. They will start looking at how they're going to tweak it and start playing with stuff. They're going to get to know the players, which is really important. I think obviously Chip's got fewer to get to know than Randy, so Randy will sit down with every player, all of his offensive linemen at the bowl game, and talk to them. I'm going to give Randy video this afternoon and let him take it back to Texas with him so he can study it, the practice video for the bowl, some video from the games. But I also don't want him to have any preconceived notions of they like this guy and they don't like this guy. I want him to start over and look at it, because it was interesting. Chip came in and picked out a couple of guys that maybe the other guys didn't like as much, and he said, ooh, I like that guy. And I thought, what a good thing for him. It's a new start. So I've told the kids, you got a new start, man. You got a new chance. So if it wasn't working for you, you have 2 coaches come in and don't like you. They're probably right. Then you ought to look around. But this is a new start for you, new chance for you.
How come?
Can I
Go,
get one?
get going.
We've been firing them all.
I know,
You know, you've talked before about how people in recruiting have used, he's going to retire, like against you. Other schools have done that. Like, is that a question you've had to address from coaches you've interviewed to come here and coach? Do they want to know, like, you know, hey, how long have you got here? I've heard that you're going to retire. Like, is the retirement thing a thing that you have to talk about when you're
No,
bringing in a coach?
they really used it the first year, which was interesting. I just gotten back. I said, God, don't have me dead. I've been here 6 months. When you win the Coastal and you're trying to win your 10th game and you got a number 1 draft choice, a quarterback coming back, people aren't talking about you quitting. I'm not that dumb.
You talk about having receivers playing in their final games and going to the NFL. You have a guy like Antoine Green, you have Josh Downs. Earlier in the year, you said that you had guys who didn't want to come to UNC, and then they decided they did after seeing how well Drake May was playing. Are you confident you guys are going to have a elite group of receivers next year, despite the talent leaving?
Yeah, we will. It's also interesting that how much attention we have drawn from the transfer portal. It's absolutely amazing. I mean, I used to take them off, just you all see them, I'd see them, I'd send them to Pat, and he's already evaluated them, and he's getting school, he can't get in school. So the way you recruit the portal is going to be a huge difference in whether you're successful or not moving forward. It's all new for us, but it's real, and it's here. And we've just got to continue to upgrade the portal. Pat Sudis' position is now so important because of roster management. I mean, how many do you have? And then there's going to be another group of players leave right after the bowl game that haven't told their coaches yet, and they're going to be in the portal. So you can't jump and not have something available. And then there's going to be another group of players leave after spring practice. So there's really 3 waves. There's the wave now, the wave after the bowl game before school starts, and then the wave after spring practice. So it's just amazing. I've never seen anything like it. There's more changes in college football over the last 3 years than I've seen in my entire career.
Going back to the bowl game, are you getting a different sense of the team right now than what you had maybe a year ago going into the bowl in Charlotte? Are they a little bit more dialed in?
Yeah, I think so. We've practiced well, and we've talked a lot about last year. And I actually told them, if you're not going to be more excited than you were last year, I don't want to go. I was embarrassed, and we need to go play our best, and I think we'll get that.
A couple questions on the transfer portal. Is Cam Kelly going to play in the bowl game? I know you didn't mention.
No, Cam wanted to go look at some places, and if he didn't like what he saw, then he wanted to try to get to the NFL. And I haven't talked to him, I'm not sure where he is, but we've told the guys that if you're going to play in the bowl, you could not miss a meeting and you could not miss a practice. And some of the guys wanted to go visit, and I totally understand that. Some would worry about playing the bowl game and getting hurt. Others want to get some more video. They want to show some special teams plays and practice video. And Ross, we're going to try to help these guys any way we can. So we're going to cut up some of them and send it out, pass rush drills. And we're going to do all that to try to help them.
And then, I mean, there's some names here that have been in your transfer portal. There's some big recruits y'all have had. Maybe a brief comment on a couple of these guys. You know, Keyshawn Silver and Ra Dilworth were both in that big class you had. Top guys in the state. Oops. They've both side transfer. I mean, redshirt freshmen who transfer. What your thoughts on those 2 guys leaving?
Both of them want to play more, and that's fair. You know, Sed and Power played most of the time. Ra played on dime. He wanted to play more at one start, so I got it. Ra was really fast. He'll be great for somebody. We had talked to Keyshawn about moving to the offensive line. He wants to play defense, and I think that's fair. We've got a really good group of defensive linemen, 2 deep, and it's been hard for him to break into the lineup, so he wants to go somewhere else and try it. He's great. I talked to him at lunch and asked him about what you're looking at. Can I help you? And let me know. And so we're good. It's kind of different. It's kind of strange, but
Yeah, and another
it's all
one.
working.
I mean, Tony Grimes is one of the biggest commits UNC's ever had. He leaves after 3 years. Your thoughts on that, too?
Tony's a great kid. He started for us for what, two years and a
2.5,
third. I thought he did a really good job for us. I think he and his dad didn't feel like that what we were doing was best for him, so good for him. Storm graduated. I think he wanted to go have a shot somewhere else. So that's what transfer portal's for.
I suppose it's better in the sense that before you had it, and you were weak, you might see some position coming back. What did you do? I mean, now you can go find something.
Yeah. Yeah, we really struggled in our secondary. And we got to get better. We actually got better against the run at the end of the year. Clemson had, what, 50-something yards rushing, which I would not have dreamed at the first of the year we could have done that. So I think we're making progress with our front. We got to get more tackles for loss on our defense. We got to get more sacks. We've been talking about it for 4 years and we haven't done it. And we've got to do a better job. We don't force turnovers. We give up too many explosives. So all those things need to be addressed. And the explosives are usually the secondary. So we've got to continue to get better. Will Hardy played great in the bowl game, or in the championship game, had 14 tackles for a true freshman. I was so impressed with him. I'm really impressed with Marcus Johnson. Marcus Allen. Marcus Johnson's pretty good too. He was a great receiver for us at Texas. And those two guys played a lot at the end of the year, Ross, and I think that probably had some influence on some guys leaving too.
If you were really weak before the portal, what were your options? Junior college? What were your options?
One more time.
If you were really weak in one area before the portal, did you look for junior college? What were your options?
Yeah, we can't get junior college players in school very often, so you try to get a freshman to come in and start. It's just, or develop what you've got. I hate one thing now that people, in my estimation, won't develop players and be as patient with guys as they used to be. It used to take 3 years before an offensive lineman had even played. Now we're getting questions, why didn't he play it, man? Well, he'd been here 6 months, 8 months, something like that. So I'm worried that people are going to jump faster to get a better player in, and especially teams that are in trouble or about to get fired. I want to take an older guy that instead of worry about a mistake on a younger one that I don't have enough time to develop. So I'm really worried that it's not best for the young people on the team that what we're doing. I don't think it's healthy.
Coach, we can do two more?
We can do whatever you want.
Let's go with two more and get the chip.
They're excited. They haven't seen me in a while.
Lot to talk about.
But they want to watch it.
We could keep going and you could keep going.
Mack, you're a relationship guy, and I was wondering if, just with what you've been through with Phil leaving and hiring Chip and the process of trying to find the right coach for him, has that made your relationship stronger with Drake, do you think? Just all the stuff that doesn't have anything to do with, actually playing game or whatever.
Yeah, it's another good question, Adam. I don't know that it could be stronger. I've known Drake since he was a kid, and I love Drake, and I loved watching him play, and I had so much pride in him this year. He just did an amazing job, and he's so humble, and he's so smart, and he's so good. But I do think that it probably made him understand my position better, and that I've got some really, really hard decisions to make in my position, and that all my decisions are going to be what's best for this football team. And most players don't ever get that close to a head coach's life to see that. But in fact, Sally and I sat and talked to him for an hour one day in my office. And he just laughed and said, "Whew, it's a lot more complicated, man, than I thought it was." And I said, "Yeah, it is. It really is." But I said, we're going. Every time you hire, you got to hire better. And it's not about the name. It's about the person that can come in and produce. And that's where it's fun for me to hire. I like it. I like the process. I like trying to figure out all the pieces. I like meeting new people. So it's fun for me. So I never worry about losing a coach. You always appreciate what they do when they're here. When they leave, and they're going to leave, all of them leave at some point or another. And they're all going to do what's best for them, and that's totally fair. And when I was talking about I wish coaches couldn't leave till after the bowl game. I'm not talking about Phil and Jack being bad. I'm talking about, I wish the process was in a position where coaches don't have to leave. No coach wants to leave his team. It's just right now it's the business, and it's what you got.
Talking about last one.
Make it a good one.
Now I'm nervous. Talking about the transfer portal and talking about fit with coaches and coming in, how do you marry, since you talked about dating, how do you marry a player in the portal versus what you want to do as a team and as a position group? You need DBs, obviously, so you got to get bodies there, but how do you sort of select who you want in the portal to pursue based on what you have in your philosophy or Chisholm's philosophy or whatever?
Yeah, I think it's funny, Oregon and Georgia and us do exactly the same thing on defense. So I'm so tired of hearing people say they don't press enough. Well, Georgia did pretty good, and Oregon's all right. It's two of the best defenses in the country. So it's about how we play. It's not what we do. And what we do, Tommy, is we do it like a high school player, except you're seeing them play against a very good competition. When you see East Tennessee play Mississippi State, I mean, that gives you a good idea, and you try to take a player against the best competition that he's possibly got and see how that would relate to what you've got here and where it fits. And then he has to get in school, and that's difficult here. And then you have to bring him in and have a relationship with him and see, because older guys, it's really been different recruiting the younger guys and the older guys from the transfer portal. They're looking for different things. This young one's got a dream, this older one's already been there, man. It's a business decision. He wants to walk in and say, am I going to play? Where am I going to play? How are you going to play me? What are you going to do with me? So it's a very, very different process. Even our recruiting staff said, man, these older guys are easier to recruit because they know what they want. Young ones are all wondering and asking questions and what's this like? When do I come? These guys just want to come. They want to be here immediately.
Has the academic side of UNC been difficult in the transfer portal area?
It is a great school, so we have to be really, really careful who we look at. So the answer would be yes, and graduate school as well. But you have to transfer 70 hours if they're at least in their third year. And they have to transfer into the college, each college. And that has to be approved by the admissions of each of those colleges. So we have absolutely no control. So when we're talking to someone, Tommy, we have to say, send us a transcript before we can even talk to you. And that hurts us with some because they're afraid that they can't get in. And then we're not in control of how fast that process goes. So if it takes 10 days, they probably go somewhere else because they're waiting too long. So we're learning, and the university's trying to help us, and we're trying to move as fast as we can.
All right.
Okay?
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you all. Enjoy.